Your daily chart says bullish, your weekly chart says bearish. You take the trade anyway because the daily looked good. And then you wonder why your stop got hit 2 hours later. What's up, stackers? It's Q, also known as Creole Trades. Today we're breaking down what the A in the stack method means, which is alignment. And I need you to hear this one because one letter is the reason most traders lose on setups that looked perfect on a single time frame. If you've been taking trades based on one chart and ignoring the rest, this is the fix. So let's get into it. What is alignment? So what does A usually mean in the stack? Simple. Every time frame agrees. Not two of them, not three, all five. Maybe sometimes four. But essentially, monthly, weekly, daily, 2 hour. They all need to point in the same direction. When they do, you have alignment. When they don't, you don't trade. Here's what most people get it wrong. They pull up the daily, they see a bullish setup, and then they call that an analysis. But the daily is just one opinion. The weekly might disagree. The monthly might be screaming the opposite direction. One time frame is not alignment, it's a guess. In the stack sequence, A comes third after structure and the trigger, before confirmation. And there's a reason for that order. Structures tell you where you are currently. The trigger tells you what to watch for. The alignment tells you whether the entire market agrees with your thesis. You can't skip ahead. If the S&T checks out but the time frames are fighting each other, you stop. The A score is a 0. And then the stack, 0 means no trade. All right, let's look at two examples, right? So here we have BELFB, which is a full stacked alignment. All right, so looking at the month, we're way above the 200 and the WTMA. Looking at the weekly, above the WTMA, above the 200. Looking at the daily, same thing. 4 hour. And finally, the 2 hour. So would you agree that these all line up in the same direction, verifying its bullish case? Now, on the other hand, let's flip to Adobe. So you have Adobe on the monthly looking extremely bearish. Look at the week, still bearish. And then on the daily, you get, a bullish conviction because, price action is above the 12 EMA and the WTMA. But if you look carefully, it is still under the 200 cloud, right? So this is how you can get faked out. Then looking at the 4 hour, see? Same thing. Then the 2 hour is where you will have another misalignment where it's got bearish. So you have 3 bearish time frames and 2 bullish ones. And if you just only looking at the daily or the 4 hour, you will get torched on this Adobe trade. So recapping from both scenarios, right? You looked at BELFB and it is this scenario right here. All the alignment points in one single direction. All 5 agree. So in that case, your alignment score is a 1 out of 1. And then here is Adobe's. But in that case, we had 3 bearish and 2 bullish, which still grants you a 0. You get no partial credit. You don't take the trade. That's easy and simple as I can put it. Here's the part that no one talks about: how the A connects to the rest of the stack. Alignment is the bridge between structure and confirmation. The S tells you where zones are. The T tells you what event to watch for. The A tells you whether the whole market agrees that this is the time. And here's a critical piece. You can't skip A and expect C to save you. Wolf chart might fire a confirmation signal on a 4 hour chart, Beautiful setup. But if the weekly structure is bearish and the monthly is on a downtrend, that 4-hour confirmation is swimming upstream. I've seen setups where structure is clean, trigger was perfectly on the daily. I've seen setups where structure was clean, trigger was perfect on the daily, and the trader entered because 2 time frames agreed. But the weekly was fighting the thesis. And every single time, ignoring the alignment costs money. The stack doesn't negotiate. 5 letters, 5 checks. 5 out of 5 is an A+ confirmation stack. Anything less, and you need to ask yourself, what am I risking to skip this step? That's why the Roux score exists. It forces you to be honest, not hopeful. Honest. Here's 3 rules of alignment. Lock these in. 1, all 5 must agree. Monthly, weekly, daily, 4-hour, 2-hour. Not 2, not 3. Maybe sometimes 4, but most of the time, all 5. Number 2, no partial credit. A conflicted time frame isn't a maybe, it's a no. The A doesn't do partial credit. It aligns or it doesn't. And 3, the A is a bridge. Without alignment, even a perfect structure and trigger does not matter. The market must agree before you ask the wolf chart to confirm. If you're interested in joining the trading Roux, the link is on my website at creoletrades.com. Just go ahead and click that free access so you can get into the server and start learning from the other stackers. Stay stacked.